Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from the headquarters of Public Access TV and from Education Exchange, the education program that's popular and very famous. And tonight is a wonderful summer night. The weather is good, and it is our last night this season. And there is no conclusion of the efforts of the whole year better than hosting our superintendent, Steve Murley.
Thank
Steve,
you.
welcome
Thank you
to
very
our
much.
show. On behalf of all the family in Public Access TV, all the family in our education system. You are a good friend, and we are proud of you, and would like to see you with us here as long as we can.
Thank you very much.
If you allow me, I probably this may be a surprise to you because it's not in the script that's here. But I need to talk to our audience a little bit about the fact that at the beginning of the year I introduced you as Dr. Murley, and there were some comments from people who wanted to criticize the system or the district and use this as a reason to say, well, Mr. Murley didn't get his doctorate, and you are, I think, about 1 inch away from getting your doctorate, and you had a chance to take a couple of weeks off and then go do the last thing, but you prefer to stay here and do your work. And there was a necessity that you sacrifice. You do this sacrifice. You stay without the PhD at the end. And for this, I have to explain to our audience this part because you will never talk about it. Because it may look like you're blaming the community. But I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this is the kind of man that you are meeting on the screen tonight. And when you came and I was about to leave my job in alternative education or alternative and special education, and I was delighted to meet Darcy Murley, who had a legacy of working with special needs kids in Wisconsin. And I thought it's a good chance to add her to our team.
Yes, you did.
And I talked to you, and idea you were not even ready to accept the discussion of the topic.
No, I was not. I think I shared with you at the time that she'd had an opportunity to work in special education in Wisconsin. She also worked with at-risk schools and also through the community college with adults through their GED program. And I certainly appreciated your expression of opportunity for her within the at-risk program here in the district. But I also shared with you that it was my preference that she not work in the district in which I worked.
Yes, so this is another sacrifice, but this again can tell you, our audience, what kind of man my friend is. Your friend is. And tonight we welcome you here.
Thank you.
After a year, a very long year.
It's been a busy year.
Extremely busy year, but full of achievements and full of
Yes.
success and full of plans and thinking and vision. And as a matter of fact, I can have hours discussing with you all that, but I will focus on certain points that I think they are extremely important. As the title of our show displays, this is about the new steps for Iowa City community schools. Our community school district. The attendance area development process was a huge event during the entire year. and people went through difficult times, nights, blizzards, rains, snow, and attended meetings and it came up with the maps, the famous maps. And then all of a sudden, we discovered, and excuse me for the expression, that the maps will be set aside and there will be new maps. And you probably were surprised, as I was surprised, because this was the decision of the public. The decision of the public represented by the board, because we elect the board. So if the board decides that these maps are not good, they are talking on behalf of the public, not on behalf of the administration.
Correct.
And this is not a defense of the administration. I just want to make sure that people understand that. I'm not here to defend the administration and say, well, they are the one who canceled, they should be blamed. No, they were going ahead to execute this, and they give the parents enough time to prepare for the next step.
Right, that's the intent. We went through it in the spring with the idea that we would have maps that could be examined and approved by the board so that we could notify students, parents, staff, and community about changes, because we do plan ahead, not for next fall, but for the following fall. And I think what we heard at the board meeting was some real concerns about what they saw as unintended consequences. We did have people from the general public who had been expressing those concerns as we went through the attendance area development process. And I think the board spent quite a bit of time at that board meeting examining
Can I
some
interrupt
of those
here
unintended
for,
consequences. Sure.
if you allow me, why these concerns from this public didn't come in all these meetings that we attended in the various places?
I think some of them came up, but weren't universally ascribed to by participants at the meeting. And I think another thing that happened was, the further we got into the process, I think the more pronounced some of the concerns became. One of the things that we heard quite a bit about was the walkability issue. That is, the potential that students that live close to one school would be rezoned to another school as a methodology to help balance the demographics within the district. And I think that the further we got into that, the greater people's concern became, not just because of the walkability issue.
Safety.
And even beyond that, I'll be honest with you, I think that those two are very important. They're something that we, as an administrative team, as a board, as a community, focus on. But I think one of the things that they were really concerned about was support services. And I think the further we got into that, the more pronounced that apprehension was about that. Students that are close to a school that have a higher level of need have greater access to resources. And the concern was, if those students were zoned to a school that was further away, it would make it harder for them to take advantage of those resources that we can provide to them. And I think that was something that we heard from community members. I know it was something that was discussed by the board at the meeting. I think that another thing that became more pronounced as we moved further through the process was the fact that some of the components of the diversity policy are at odds with each other. And so we wound up making decisions based on one or another. And there were some concerns about which of those priorities were chosen. And so that, I think, was also something that was discussed by the board, and we heard quite a bit about that from the community too. So knowing that that had happened, the board essentially said, we'd like you to draw some new maps. And we said to the board, that's great, we've been more than happy to do that. We do have some questions for you. And so the board placed on the next agenda on June 10th an opportunity for us as an administrative team to ask some clarifying questions so that we know we have more information as a basis to draw those maps. Because again, as you said before, we want the maps to be representative of what the community wants. We want to balance that with what we think is best for kids in the community, and to the extent possible, we'd like those to be not mutually exclusive, but actually mutually compatible, so that we can develop maps that are good for kids and that have a lot of community support.
So you are really doing your best to see or to focus on the positive side of the whole process. I see.
Yes.
I mean, I might have sounded a little negative, but I am, as you know, I'm talking as a parent, as a consumer, but I see that you are shedding the light now on the positive thing in the policy or in the decision that was made. However, I need from you a little bit clarification about the wording that was used, at least in the press release, something like relaxation of the diversity policy. What does the word relaxation here mean?
There was conversation at the board meeting about whether or not the diversity policy should be revisited, and if so, whether there should be changes to the language, or whether there should be wholesale changes to the policy itself.
Do we, is the policy, was it born here, or
It was. It's a district-generated policy.
Okay.
And as we went through that discussion, I shared with them that I thought that there was an opportunity for us as an administrative team to work within the policy. We've already asked for and received one exception, and that is that the East Side Elementary School won't open until the fall of 2019. And we looked at two of the schools that right now are not in compliance with the diversity policy, Mann and Lucas Elementary Schools, and realized that we couldn't be in compliance with the diversity policy by the fall of 2018 if that new school was not going to open until the fall of 2019. And so we'd already asked for and received an exception from the board for those two elementary schools to be in compliance in the fall of 19. So we'd received essentially a one-year reprieve for those two and extended the deadline. And my proposal to the board was to allow us as an administrative team to go back and follow their charge, which was to draw up some new maps and determine if, through that process, if we could comply with a majority of the constraints that were in the diversity policy, and then where there may be issues where we can't comply, to be able to come back to the board and say, here are the areas in which we are struggling to comply, and if you were to grant these types of map exceptions, when might we look at compliance with the policy? And I think that's one way to do it. Certainly you could revisit the policy and redraw the language, but I think another way to do it is to go through and look at it and say where might exceptions be needed, and for how long would they be needed, and then weigh that against whether or not they need to revisit the policy in totality.
Before we leave the elementary part of our conversation today, I remember, of course, being part of the generation that came up with the requirement or request that we will have a magnet school. And at the time, you know, I was I was fired by everybody. You know, I was fired at. Everybody was saying no way, and I was happy that the idea now is coming back, and people are. But I remember the first time I wrote was in 90-something, maybe 92, 93, at the Press Citizen about the magnet school. We need a magnet school, and I remember at that time, years passed, and Nick Johnson became part of and gave me a big support at the time. But then it died until now. It's coming back, and now even people are talking about Twain and all that.
Yes.
So, is there anything else you want to say about elementary schools before we move to the secondary level?
Yeah, one of the things that we heard a lot about prior to the implementation of the diversity policy, and we've heard a lot about since then, is whether or not there's a way to voluntarily incentivize this type of integration that the diversity policy strives for. And one thing that came up repeatedly was, is there a way for us to develop some type of magnet program, some type of themed format at the elementary level that would encourage people to choose to go to school outside their attendance zone, and perhaps to better balance the demographics in the district. And one of the things that I shared with the Education Committee when the idea first came up was that we are space challenged in the district with 41 classrooms in modular facilities right now, But one of the opportunities that we have is when South Elementary School opens in the fall of 15, for a short period of time, we're going to have some excess capacity on the east side of the river. And one of the things that it may allow us to do, and which we did in the last round of maps that came to the board, was to try to carve out space at one of our schools to look at some magnet programming. We chose Twain. In particular, we're looking at schools that are closer to downtown, that provide a lot of walkability, so that there is an opportunity perhaps to draw from a larger area because it's easier for people for students to walk to it. In addition to recognizing that some of our kids will wind up transporting themselves to the school. And so where's a school that might provide both some walkability for neighborhood students and also ease of access for those who are driving. And Twain looks like a good choice. And so we tried to carve out some space in there. And as we talked about with the board, we'll be looking to preserve that space and preserve the opportunity to continue that magnet school dialogue when we move forward with new versions of the map.
In your response to one of the board members, the last meeting last week, you mentioned that there will be about 100 more kids in case the magnet program is implemented, because it's now 200 something. It will be 306, I think.
That's the size that Twain Elementary will be after it gets its new addition.
Yeah.
It'll have 306 seats available there, and so we talked about whether or not it's a magnet school as a whole with a full curriculum,
or a school within a
or
school.
a school within a school. So we've received a lot of feedback from people, pros and cons of both of those models. We're definitely looking at that internally as we get to that point again where we're asking and hopefully getting some questions answered from the board at the June 10th meeting to clarify some of that. That'll help us as we look at what the attendance zones might look like for that area.
Let's move to the secondary then now.
Secondary is a challenge. We held two cluster meetings for that where we had folks come in, and we struggled collectively in both of those meetings, especially in the second meeting. The struggle was really determining how do students move from elementary to junior high, and then from junior high, how do they move on to high school? And we had some exercises for the participants, and most did not complete the exercise of elementary to junior high, and no one attempted junior high to high school. And I think part of that is because we're struggling with how to get the balance at the elementary level, and then what does that mean for the junior highs? And certainly if you can get the balance that's desired at the elementary level, that can help answer the questions at the junior high level. If you can't get the questions answered at the elementary level, it leaves a lot of gray area at the junior high level. And the participants essentially told us, absent some finality at the elementary level, they didn't think it was a good idea to continue that dialogue with the secondary schools because, as you know from having a secondary school student, it's really important for us to make sure that there's some continuity for those kids, that we provide them and their parents clear information about registration for coursework, and we do that in a timely manner. And the concern of the community members that were participating was that we might have to do this relatively frequently at the secondary level to comply with the diversity policy because of the requirement for the gaps at the junior high and the high school level. And so we took that to the board and said, based on what we're hearing from the community, we really need to wait until we have some answers about the elementary schools, and then once we have those answers, it hopefully will make it easier for us to have that dialogue with the community.
Can you update our audience about the new South Elementary School?
I would love to.
Yes, please.
We are moving forward with that fairly rapidly. If you're out in the area, one of the things that you see out there is a lot of heavy equipment, moving a lot of dirt out there. One of the things that we know is that people are very interested in it. If you're familiar with things like the Eagle Cam up in Decorah, one of the things that we are working on right now is the possibility of placing a camera out there that will allow people to watch as the progress unfolds, because we think there's going to be a lot of interest in that as the school goes up. And it may not be a school that people drive past regularly, so if there's an opportunity for people to see it unfold, we think that'll be really exciting. It'll hold 500 students, and it's going to be a real blessing for that area of the community. Right now, if you haven't been down Lakeside Drive and you haven't been past Wood Elementary School, you may not know that we have 5 different portable units parked outside of Wood right now.
I saw that.
Wood is very highly enrolled right now, well over capacity. And one of the things that does is that puts a stress on the facilities, the lunchroom, the specials rooms for art, music, and PE, the common space, the libraries, the computer labs. We'd really like to get Wood back to its capacity, approximately 400 students. So we're looking forward to doing that in the maps. Obviously, one of the ways that we're going to be able to do that is give some of those students in the Wood attendance zone the opportunity to attend a brand new school. So we think that's really exciting for them. We're also very fortunate. We've got a great relationship with the city of Iowa City, and they are helping us to build a larger facility than we otherwise normally would be able to in our facilities master plan. So we're going to get a bigger gym out of that. For those members of the community that are familiar with gyms at Borlaug Elementary School or Van Allen or Garner, they know what that looks like. We're doing that right now with Penn Elementary as we go through the addition up there. And the real good fortune for us as a community is it provides more instructional space for students. And it also then provides the community an opportunity to use those facilities after hours and on the weekends. We think that's a good use of taxpayers' dollars. Rather than two entities building separate facilities, we combine forces, we build one facility. It benefits kids during the day, it benefits the community in the evenings and the weekends. And we, again, think that as stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, that's a good choice. And it really helps to have solid support from our municipalities. They're great partners.
You addressed the municipal partnership with the Iowa City, with the city of Iowa City, and now your regional center is going to have more collaboration between you and the university and Kirkwood.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, last week we had your assistant superintendent with John with John Y, and he talked to us a lot about this. So we are going to listen to you now about specific things that you would like to add, like the programs, for instance. Because
I think one of the things that's really important is we think about what our purpose is, what our aim is in public education, and we really think about three things. We think about making sure that students are ready for post-secondary education. A lot of times people talk about college readiness, and that is everything from Kirkwood Community College to a four-year research university like the University of Iowa, and anywhere in between. And we also talk about career readiness because we recognize that one of the reasons to continue through post-secondary education is to prepare students for the world of work. And then the other thing is we really look at citizenship. We want students, again, to be college ready. We want them to be career ready, but we want them to be citizenship ready too. We want them to be participants in our communities when they matriculate on from post-secondary education and when they get a job. That's really what, if you go all the way back to the Jeffersonian model, that's why we provide public education, because it benefits the general public as people go through, become educated, become employees in the community and taxpayers and voters. And so those are the three things that we look at. One of the things that we know now more than ever is that for students to really succeed in life, some level of post-secondary education provides an enormous benefit for them. Whether it's a 2-year degree, 4-year degree, postgraduate degree, but having that opportunity to participate in public education, get those credentials that they need to go on and succeed at college, really then helps them to be career ready and successful and citizenship ready and successful. So I think one of the things that we see at the new center is an opportunity to blend that line between the K-12 world and the post-secondary world. Many kids may look at post-secondary education and say, that's not for me. We know, and research shows, that students that participate in post-secondary classes while they are in high school are far more likely to go to post-secondary schools, to graduate from post-secondary schools, and to do so on time. That's a huge public good. If we can help with that process, that's an enormous benefit to our community. And so we really are hoping that part of what we see at the regional center is an opportunity for many students to participate in post-secondary education, to really get a feel for what it's like going to be like for them after they get done with high school, and to do it while they're in high school. Of course, they have the added bonus of getting transcripted college credit that they can take with them, and to demonstrate to others that they can succeed in college.
And they will have a special building at.
They will.
Yeah.
We're getting a jump start on it, though. We're not waiting until that building opens in 2015. If people have been out on Oakdale Boulevard, they're making rapid progress on there, which looks great. But again, we won't be ready for students until the fall of 15. But right now, we're using the Theodore Roosevelt Education Center and our high schools as places to host academies. We really want to make sure that kids are taking advantage of those today and not waiting.
Steve, I cannot thank you enough. And I cannot express our gratitude, gratefulness, and we just wait to see more of your vision and more of your ideas, and we wish you a very, very good summer.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Your program will be on YouTube, of course, on Public Access TV website, on Channel 21. And thank you for all the help that you did for us this year. We had a success rate of about 96%.
Fantastic.
There are a few principles that we have to work on them a little bit more to convince them that this is a good cause.
We have a lot of good news to share, so we will make sure that we take advantage of that.
But thank you for all the help, and in the meantime, we are on Channel 18. So there are many, many ways of watching this program, and thank you for your stamina and for your ability to absorb all this and still keep this optimistic look that you are very well known for. The optimism of Mr. Murley.
It's very easy to do when you work with our students.
Murley. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we wish you a wonderful summer night.